Hello, and welcome to Aurora, my trusty merchant ship. For the longest time I had in mind to add a small drip leaf parkour path towards the open side of Aurora. But obviously, there is no use of having such a path if there's nothing over here. So that's what we're gonna change today. Oh, and by the way, you probably can't hear it, but we are now on 1.21.5. And the sand sound. It is so creepy, especially when you don't know what it is. I mean, I love it, but gosh, that scared the heck out of me the first time I heard that. Oh, that's how that works. What I have in mind for this island, we have all that wonderful beach here. We have that ship which is a modernish ship, not a pirate ship, but still, I think a pirate village would go nicely here. However, I have to admit, I've done no planning beforehand. No, none of it. No clue where the buildings are gonna go, have sketched out nothing and created beforehand, so we are just gonna wing it. And yeah, leaves coming off of spruce trees. I may not be a botanist, but that much I know. That makes no sense. None at all. But it's lovely. Still, that texture needs to be changed to something more spiky. The drip leaf parkour ends up somewhere here. Maybe we could even extend the parkour to be on land and not start in the water. I kinda want to have wooden platforms even if it's not in the water. So maybe start with a building here and have the entrance of the whole area somewhere there, and then we would go along and up that mountain, maybe curve it in here. I think that would make sense. So maybe I just figure something out for the starter area, a rough layout, and then I bring you back so we can see what we think about that. Do we see the vision yet? Well, maybe. We have the pier going all the way into small buildings. They will all have a proper interior, but not a big one. As you know, no one actually will live here, so they are just more or less mock-ups. And here we have a small path down towards the beach area. Oh, and for the drip leaves, I've now extended the path a little bit and also increased the height of the first one, so you have to start all the way So you have to start all the way over here to get over to Aurora. And you know, the other way is a little bit simpler because even if you trip, you can just swim. Of course, we have to expand the path all the way over to the mountaintop. But before we do that, I think we should start finishing up the first huts. And for the first one, which maybe again could be a fisherman's hut, something like that. You know, similar to our own starter base. I made the mistake of using mangrove logs for the corners because you don't see anything of the beautiful red, but you still have to gather that stuff, which is, as you probably are aware of, painful. Couldn't Mojang just add a 2x2 mega mangrove tree? That would make things so much easier. Okay. I don't hate it, but also I don't love it. Now let's redo that. That doesn't work out. Gosh, that looks awful. Simple roofs are difficult. It of course doesn't get any easier when it rains and you don't see anything. Yeah, I'm not sold on that. Maybe once we decorate it up a little bit more. It still doesn't look like much, but I can feel it coming together. Well, the first approach to the buildings is still fairly plain, but you can get an idea of all the little nooks you have all over the place, like this backyard, whatever that even is. That's where we just were. And here maybe try to have somewhat of a half-round building just to give it a bit more shape and also help bend that path more into a diagonal direction, while this was relatively straight. Well, this part's gonna be queer. And I'm still not fully convinced about my block choices here. That building works out alright. I mean, it's basic, but But basic works in this instance. Well, that one I'm not too sure, especially the roof. Maybe have to exchange it with something else. Gosh, the sand. That noise gets me off guard every time. Okay, that already looks so much better. Oh god. Think that was everything, right? Probably not. So, let's see. No, that did not work. Ah, here we go. Yeah, well, that already looks much better. And that is actually a surprisingly clean interior. How did that happen? But let's cover it up anyways. And also, let's find a spot to hide a crafting table. Oh, perfect. Perfect. And this one will stay here. You know, I'm not gonna remove it again. That's a permanent residence of this shack. Okay, we're talking about having this a fishing shack of sorts. So... oh. Yeah, I was looking for the crafting table. You know, my short-term memory is pretty much non-existent. So... just bear with me. Actually, thinking about it, I wanted to do barrels, not composters. Oh boy. It's been a rough day, apparently. Okay, this is madness now. This is absolute madness. I have to clean out my inventory. I can't work, I can't live that way. Oh dear. Oh. Bah! I think I've handled the situation reasonably bad, but that's alright. Some barrels here, and why not one composter? It still doesn't look very much like a fishing shack, does it? Maybe some cauldrons would go well in here. I think I still have some in my storage. Cauldrons? But you know, thinking about it, maybe that shouldn't be a fishing shack. Maybe we should turn it into a clothing workshop? Because then that works with the cauldrons actually. So a loom would also be fitting and some banners for the outside. Let's see, maybe the red and the purple one. Maybe let's put the white one on the inside. We can also think about some nice banner patterns maybe. Then maybe an armor stand. Oh, hi friend. Glad you came for a visit. Not. And then some leaves on the inside. Maybe not too many. Because it's not supposed to look like a jungle. And I've now decided to call the second shack the Dragon Forge. And inside is exactly what you would expect. I've also collected some of the armor from our skeleton farm. Should we give those armor stands also arms for weapons? Not too sure, but let's just maybe start with the armor, right? There's a surprisingly small number of helmets down in the skeleton farm. But thinking about that, I could have also gotten some leather stuff for this one. I'm right back. Perfect. But there was no unenchanted stuff. Maybe do unenchant these things, because most of the enchantments... I mean, we're not gonna use it anyway, so... maybe dye them, but for now I think that's a good placeholder. But maybe let's add a little bit of greenery. By the way, new naked sheep and new cactus flower. How does one even get that? Ouch! Yay! Awesome. But one thing that's definitely missing here, because, you know, there is nothing really driving home the idea that it's a pirate village, even though it's, you know, rusty and crumbly, but a big sail, for which 34 wool will certainly not be enough, but something like that I think is missing. I'm thinking maybe behind the building, so it's really an ominous background piece. Oh, directly above the chimney. It's alright, we can work with that. Let's just hope we don't burn anything in the process. Okay, and now comes the part where I have to admit once again that I have no clue what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna throw some things together and hope it works. I think the sail needs still a bit more work. Yeah, it especially needs more cloth here because it's not doing what it's actually supposed to do, to shade that area a little bit. I've also made the mast accessible from here, so we can climb all the way up to the crow's nest, where we have just a plain black flag, which also maybe needs a little bit more wool. Something like that. We once again have a wonderful view. I think the height is quite similar to our ship over there. But as we have now done a lot of on-camera building, and I don't want this episode to go on for hours upon hours, I think I will turn the rest of the process into a time-lapse and bring you back for the interior and decorational stuff and things. So lean back and enjoy! Let's see if I remember that old recipe correctly. You need 5 leather and a bone. Arrgh. What you've just seen was probably a very messy time-lapse, as it was also quite a messy build process. But that was a future me problem. So let's give you a tour. I've now added to the walkway also that leaf litter, which I think works out wonderfully because, you know, it's just right in the middle of the dark oak and the spruce. And the first building is that tavern, which is supposed to be a tavern eventually, which also has 2 guest rooms. One of them we're gonna use right away. And it is of course all very cramped and tiny in here, but that is very much by design. And then there's a second exit. We will have a small tables and seats area here. Then we have a walled off area, which leads to another tower, or another mast, I should say, the biggest one, which gives us a wonderful view of the area. And also kind of a pirate flag. I mean, you probably can't tell that this is supposed to be a skull, but it's fine. And then we have 2 more buildings, which I think just gonna be residential buildings. And as you have probably already noticed, I have in many places small walkways leading to the back. You know, we can just pop out again right here. Added also more support banners, leaves, barrels, general mess. I mean, the whole area is start to look like a big, beautiful mess. Just like I am, really. But that is totally fine. So let's start with that building, and I mean, I have just built a tavern a few episodes ago, all the way over there. You can't see it from here. Even I can't see it from here, even though I know exactly where it is. We need at least some stools and a counter, right? That's the bare minimum. What should we use? Dark oak. I think dark oak is the only way to go. Do we have... Ah yeah, a single dark oak pressure plate. Why not? No. Let's not put a crafting table in here. We have already enough crafting tables scattered around this place. We don't need them literally everywhere. Now a cup for drinks. Maybe 2. And... Yep, sure. And maybe also a few taps. Where to put them? There. And... last but certainly not least, a painting. Oh yes, of fries. How fitting. But thinking about that, should we give that a bit of a trim? Oh yes, I think that looks much better. Well, then let's turn our attention to the first floor, and honestly I don't think there is too much we really can do. Yeah, nothing more homely than a creeper painting, right? That's exactly what you want to see when you wake up. Maybe not in both rooms. Sure. Whatever that even is. And then a chest each for personal belongings. Oh yeah, the hallway extends back there. Oh, that's a neat hiding spot. No one would find you. Pretty sure about that. Apparently I'm accidentally creating a hide-and-seek map here. Boink. Spruce fences and barrels would be my guess what I need. And I have neither of them. You won't believe how much wood I burned through this build. It is unbelievable. Or maybe rather trapdoor so we can create a big barrel and maybe even put water into it. We are short 1. Of course we are. Yeah, that... Come on. Why is life so hard and I don't have my elytra equipped? Things are going well. Things are going very well. You know, then we can fill in that place with water and flood the whole area if we make a single mistake. Beautiful. Also a nice hiding spot. Even though I'm not really sure how you would get into there. Okay, the elytra didn't help me there either. You know, we can put a ladder there, but where would we go? We could put, of course, a door there. Ah, gracefully. The third time's a charm, how they say it. I was pretty sure I had still a door somewhere, but apparently not. Oh, you need something underneath it for a door to function as a door, right? Alright, but what we can do is that, because... But you know, if we put it like there and there, is it possible to engage your elytra from here? No, it's not. And I'm not sure why I'm trying to include now another hiding spot. It's fine. But actually that, for some reason, works. Don't know. Oh, of course it does. Just have faith in me, please, for a second. I know it's a lot to ask for, but please just stand by. I have no clue what I'm doing, but you probably already figured that out. Okay, I worked it out. You need 2 ladders here, then you can climb up. And actually, there are multiple ways to enter. God! Yeah, as you can see. You can climb over the top, but you can also go, when you open that, into... No, not like that. When you go up and open this one, go into swim mode, and then you can enter like this. But you can also just go from top here. Okay. Hiding spot accomplished. I don't know what I will use that for, probably nothing at all, but it's fine. Let's add a few tables and chairs to where I have been growing a shulker monster, which is not ideal. What material to use for that? Probably mangrove. Probably the most expensive of all the wood types. Alright, a building. A table would go here, and maybe on top of the trapdoor. Then we can place another seating group back there. And then maybe a third one where you're just gonna stumble over. Maybe, yeah, that by the way is an infinite water source, if you get it from the middle here. Yeah. And then we just need 3 tabletops. That's the word. You know, just like in tabletop. Beautiful. And maybe we can put a lantern on that barrel, and I was thinking about maybe also... Yeah, I think that works out beautifully. Well, then there are just 2 more buildings to go, and for those I will not be too, even though we need a ceiling in here. Can't go with dark oak again. It's too expensive. But then again, I'm pretty much out of everything at that point. We just go with dark oak. It's fine. Yeah, I think that works. Maybe a few more leaves. Oh, that still looks a little bit sad, doesn't it? Maybe that's kind of a wardrobe built into the wall. Yeah. in another hiding spot if you so will. And then we have that more luxurious building with half of a second floor at least. And that bamboo floor, which I'm not sure about if that really works in that instance. I mean, I love the color, but I think we have to exchange it with something a little bit more earthy. Maybe let's just strip dark oak once again, because apparently I have too much of it. I needed one more piece of mangrove. I'm not gonna cut it down now. I just got my piece. That's it. We have now enough to make 2 more mangrove stairs so we can finish up that ceiling. And then why not put a row of slabs here? Over the entrance? Why not? I like that. Doesn't make any sense, but I like it. A pot on the barrel and a bigger pot besides the window. Well, then we need something to put inside said pot, of course. Cute. And then a bit of greenery, because these people are not really taking that good care of their homes. So that's lore now. Yeah. It's basic, but it does the trick. Maybe a painting. Where would it go? Wonderful. And we have that half of a second floor, but because these are lower half slabs, it's tricky to put any decoration in here and all, so we don't really have to. But it's a nice spot to look out. So it's kind of a lovely house, isn't it? And maybe we should put slabs in here to make it a bit more tidy. You know, why isn't there a carpentry bench in that game? That would make life so much easier. And of course there also aren't any half slabs, so we have to take another bite out of this tree. Let's put that there, and these there. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, there used to be a door here. Let's maybe turn it. Should we also add maybe a lantern to this build? Do we have more fences? The question, or the answer to the question is always no. Yeah, and I wanted to add some blue lanterns to that thing. I think that would add just a little bit of interest, even though there are still no colored lights in the game. But I'm not giving up hope that maybe someday. And you know, I was thinking, since that shop is called Forge, we maybe should call this one Fabric instead of Wool. Which is a bit ironic because Fabric is the newer one of both. So old Fabric doesn't make quite much sense, but it does make sense here. Fabric and Forge. Wonderful. But speaking of signs, this thing needs a name. And maybe it needs a big name. Maybe coming from... Yeah, I need more fences, don't I? Well, then we can have 2 hanging signs hanging in opposite directions, and it is fun, you know? Just put doors, trapdoors and buttons around the place. And you never know what happens if you press one of them. Let's call it the old Shanty Saloon. Because that makes sense. And hope no one of you disagrees. What color should that be? Maybe cyan? Do we even have cyan? Do I have to go back to my storage room? Yes, I do. But I'm starting to believe that this jump might just not be possible. It should be possible, but at least not possible for Toni's. Yeah, let's just repeat it on the other side. Pretty sure that's exactly the same like on the other side, right? I don't accept any other answers. And now that this part of the build I think is pretty much finished, we might, you know, change around a few things later on. But there are 2 major more things to be done. The foresty area in the back of it, that will turn into a jungle. Not sapling jungle trees, but, you know, junglish palm kinda trees. But we will do that in a live stream, as that's, I think, a perfect live stream project. And then we have the beach and the water where we need pirate ships and treasure and all that kind of thing. But that, my friends, will have to wait for next episode. And I have to admit, this might be not one of my prettier builds, but the atmosphere, if you walk along here, is just incredible. It feels so cramped. I mean, not that space, that's pretty open. But it feels, you know, so cramped, so cozy, but also a little bit uncanny. I love it. And that was really the whole point of that rundown place, to be very atmospheric. But with that, thank you so much for watching. And also, by the way, thank you for your overwhelming response to my 1000 days video. And thank you for everyone who came from that video and joined for more, as a lot more is on the way. If you want to make me a favor and help a small elf a little bit out, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because you surely don't want to miss out. What nonsense this brain behind that head will come up next time, right? Yeah, you hit that subscribe button. Or else. Take care. Bye. I still need to get this hat for the community center, of course.